lively coming out. They be wondering what we talking about.
Salute, salute, salute. Blessings. Wow. What it is, what's happening, what it do, man. Nocturnal Thoughts with a real quick video, then I'm getting out the way. I wanted to talk about Frank Martin, the Ghost, and his interview that he did on the Queens of the Ring podcast. I really haven't watched any of their videos, so I'm gonna subscribe to their channel and I'm gonna go back and do my due diligence in time and get caught up to speed with some of their interviews. I've only seen them a few times, and I'd rather not talk about some video clips that I've seen of them, because this was post Errol Spence fight on somebody else's channel that was talking about their reaction to the loss to Terrence Bud Crawford. So I don't know their style, I don't know their thoughts, their logic, I don't know the way they break down their fights. I'll look into it later. But I was watching them because of Frank Martin used their platform to discuss the reason why the fight between him and Shakur Stevenson didn't get made. Because I was a little bit intrigued to find out his side of the story. A week ago or so, Shakur Stevenson was on $1 Million Worth of Game. He was on the Last Stand podcast, and he was saying his side of the story of why his fight didn't go through with Frank Martin. He also discussed why his fight didn't go through with, Devin Haney and Lomachenko. And on $1 Million Worth of Game, he really was talking about Frank Martin in a disrespectful tone, to say the least. So I'm like, there's usually at least 3 sides to a story, at least. This person's side, that person's side, and then the truth. That's at 3 minimum. Usually it's all kind of different factors and situations that's involved in every single story, to where it just depends on your perspective. It can be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different versions of the same story, right? And of course, when Shakur Stevenson came out and he said his side of the story, all throughout all last week, all I kept hearing was how people was mainly attacking Frank Martin's character, calling him a duck, saying this, saying that. You know what I'm saying? He said, she said, soap opera, drama, blah, 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 white noise, etc., etc. Just the same old regular schmegular in boxing, right? So I said, but I am intrigued to hear Frank Martin's version, which I pretty much had an idea of what it was going to boil down to. And it's something that boxing has boiled down to all the time. Money, business. That's it, that's all. Just business and money. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't really surprised, but I just wanted to hear his side of the situation. And he just said they wasn't giving him what he was asking for when it came down to the money. And I'm looking at just the way boxing is today's time. It don't surprise me for him or Shakur Stevenson. I'm just not quick to call somebody a duck and a coward and a punk and a pussy and a bitch ass and all this and all that. I'm gonna say this: these new boxers of today's generation and future generations, probably they businessmen, and they trying to, wear those 2 hats. And you see they more business minded. You see they're into this thing more of, I'm trying to be somewhat like the glitz, the glamour, the flash, the cash, and then legacy. And as much as these boxers be talking about how they throwbacks and how they, cut from the cloth of boxers from another era, it's just impossible. Shit just changed too much within eras. From era to era, there's just shit that just changed in every single aspect of life, in every single sport, all around. every generation, there's some things that's just gonna change the damn game. You know what I'm saying? Money, technology, shit just different. You know what I'm saying? From my generation to my kids' generation to my mama generation, my grandma generation, all that shit is just, it's just gonna be things that's just gonna change for the better, and some things that's gonna change for the worse. And there's a lot of things that have changed for the better when it comes to boxing, but there are some things that's changed for the worse for boxing when it comes to boxing fans wanting to see the best fight the best. And usually the issue is gonna boil down to money. Which avenue is gonna lead to the most revenue? And if it's anything that's a roadblock that's preventing these guys from getting to that cash pot, then they're gonna go another direction. Simple as that. And in the meantime, you can call a person this, that, and the third, but it don't amount to nothing. Like, that's one thing I didn't agree with Shakur Stevenson, the way he was disrespecting, because it's like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And the kettle can't call the pot black. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Y'all situations is just too close in comparison. It's not identical. Because some people come on my channel talking about, you don't see the difference? I see the difference. You know what I'm saying? Stevie Wonder can see the difference in the Shakur Stevenson offer and just in negotiations and talking to Devin Haney versus the Frank Martin and Shakur Stevenson situation, negotiations and proposing and trying to make a fight and contracts about. We all can see the difference. We all can see all these little different things going around. At the end of the day, it's still the same thing. The fight didn't happen because of the business, because of the money, and it wasn't about like a legacy gladiator type of mentality. It was more of a business-minded mentality. So, you know what I'm saying? That could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing. At the end of the day, it just is what it is. It's for these new, younger fighters to figure it out when they make a move on the chessboard, let that time play out, whether or not it was a good move or was it a move that put you in a bad position down the line. And then they make the adjustments off of that. In my opinion, both of them made a wrong move. If I was Shakur, if I was close to his camp, I would say, and I know he got business people around him, he got moguls around him, he got people around him that's telling him, don't go that way. That's not the way we're gonna go because of business. For him to take that advice and do what he had to do as a young kid, playing around with millions and playing around with all these different, you know what I'm saying, you know, all these guys that's attached to boxing, for him to be dealing with those different powers that be, he made the best move for him at that time. So I can't knock him. I can't disrespect him and say he made the wrong move from my perspective, because I don't see everything he sees. I'm not in touch with everything he's in touch with. You know, I don't hear everything he hears. I'm not involved with all these big business minds that got their hands in boxing. I'm not around that. So I can't tell him what's the best move. He made what was the best move based off of his knowledge. So I just got to look at it and, you know what I'm saying, see how it play out for him. I'm saying from my little perspective, from what I would see, which is very not a lot, I would say he should have took that fight, beat Devin Haney, took those belts and been in a position of power. But that's my perspective. I don't see everything. Same thing with Frank Martin. If I was close to Frank Martin, if I was in his, you know what I'm saying, his environment, his team, I would have said, yeah, take that fight with Shakur Stevenson. Win, lose, or draw, you can make the best of it. You know what I'm saying? If you win, you're in a great position. If you lose and give a good showing for yourself, you can be still in a great position and then you can mount another come. I would say take that fight. But I'm not in that circle. I'm not in his circles. I'm not in his, you know what I'm saying, environment. I'm not around him to give him strategy. And I don't see everything he see. I don't hear everything he hear. So he made the best move that was in order for him to try to, you know, put himself in position to have a better future, financially and legacy-wise. I don't agree from my perspective. From my perspective, if I was Frank Martin, I would have took the Shakur Stevenson fight. But my point is this, from my position, they both look like they made a move that I wouldn't say they should have made. And they shouldn't be, if one is calling the other one this and the other, to me, it's like, you know, every time you, Michael Jackson, look at the man in the mirror. Why are you shooting so much? You know, before you start talking about the splinter in somebody else's eye, you need to take the plank out of your eye. I don't understand how how Shakur Stevenson was going so hard at Frank Martin's character when it was just a couple of weeks ago you was in the same predicament when it came to Devin Haney. And then it's like what Frank Martin said. I agree with one thing Frank Martin said. Frank Martin said, you didn't disrespect Loma like that. You didn't disrespect Isaac Cruz like that. You always get two black people and they got to tear each other down. I agree with Frank Martin when he said that. I agree with Shakur Stevenson when Shakur Stevenson said, all I really need to do is keep my head down, stay focused on my craft, and keep fighting who they put in front of me. You know what I'm saying? Stay in the gym and stay focused and stay disciplined. I agree with that. Everything else Shakur Stevenson was saying, I just look at it as a kid that's frustrated, that ain't got the time and experience to understand how it takes the time. Like all the experience and patience that he has in the ring, I feel like it's just for the ring. He just designed mentality. He's designed to be like that in the ring. Outside of the ring, I still feel like he's just a young kid that, you know what I'm saying, he's smart in his ways, but he's still a kid. He's still green. Still things, it's just you learn in time. You can't replace the things that you learn through life by living it in time. 20 years from now, he might look back at the situation totally different and say, man, I didn't look at it from this perspective 20 years ago when I was 20. And then the same thing for Frank Martin. He might look back at this thing in about 5 or 6 years and be like, man, I kind of missed that window. I didn't understand how little opportunity I would have down the road, and I just made the wrong move. That's life experience, that's time. Those are my thoughts. I can't call either one of these dudes ducks. They just different because they just a younger generation, and it's more about this business, and they all about trying to get maximizing dollars and minimizing their risk. And from this position, I can't condemn it or condone it. I just got to watch and see how it play out. You know what I'm saying? That's my thoughts. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments below. This is Nocturnal Thoughts signing out. Bow, bow, bow.
Sleepy going in, lively coming out. They be wondering what we talking about.